Hey guys, welcome back to Buzzer to Buzzer. All right, guys. So the 7th week of the 2020 NFL season has elapsed, and boy, were there some great games and many unexpected outcomes which we did not even predict. So, guys, per the usual, this week we're going to be going over our 7th week picks and doing some analysis on our top 5 key matchups. So, without any further ado, let's get to it. All right, guys. The first game which we are going to be analyzing and going over is going to be the one between our hometown team, the Chicago Bears, against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, guys, the game elapsed last night. It was a Monday Night Football game. We had some high hopes, all of us going in favor of the Bears last week. But, guys, it was just the opposite. The Rams winning 24-10 with a not so great performance from Nick Foles and Jared Goff having a good night of 200 yards, also throwing for 2 touchdowns. We also got to see their run game with Darrell Henderson get going as well. Guys, our thoughts on this loss?
I feel like everyone's gonna agree with me at this point. So the Bears' offense is honestly pathetic. Like we all talk trash about the Seahawks defense, but that level of like playing for the defense is the same thing with the Bears' offense. Like at a certain point, like their offense, they can't rely on their defense as much. I mean, the Rams scored what, 20, 24, 27 points?
Yep, 24.
Okay, yeah. The Rams scored 24 points at the end of the day, while the Bears only scored 3 points if it wasn't for Eddie Jackson and his fumble recovery touchdown. So, and Nick Foles, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like, their red zone game is horrible. Their offense is just very bad, and they cannot go far with that offense. Something needs to change for that team
Yeah,
to
I
beat.
mean, we saw with the quarterback change, right? And many of us assumed that the offense would get going with the quarterback change, and obviously that wasn't the problem. Even though Mitch Trubisky might not be a good quarterback, obviously he wasn't the leading cause. I think it's mainly a combination of both offensive line play and play calling. Matt Nagy, he was not good last night. I mean, the 4th-and-1 call to Cordero Patterson was not good. He didn't. I mean, he never put Nick Foles in position to succeed. We even heard Nick Foles on the broadcast, or Brian Greasy say that Nick Foles told him that the play caller Matt Nagy doesn't even give him enough plays so that he can execute them. Unfortunately, this is the situation. But again, we found out yesterday. The main takeaway is that we found yesterday: Bears are pretenders, not contenders.
The Bears, I think you guys covered the Bears, very bad offensively. Defense played good again, like always, but the offense needs to get significantly better to have a chance. I think I want to look at the Rams here. I think the Rams played a stellar game. Obviously, defensively, they're one of the best teams in the league. I think the offense got its run game going, which is really effective. I think Cooper Kupp, was shut down by the Bears defense yesterday, but that didn't really matter. Darrell Henderson was running all over the Bears, and I think that was completely fine. I think the Rams shouldn't build too much off this victory, though. I think they should realize that this was a weak offense they played against, and it's not as big of a victory as like beating some team like the 49ers would be. I think they should continue looking to grow and where they made mistakes, because although they played a really good game, teams are going to be better than the Bears.
Exactly, guys. Looking at specifically the Bears, that long pass game, we didn't see that develop throughout the game. I mean, we had some throws which Nick Foles barely had any time to get the ball out, trying to throw it deep to Allen Robinson, whatever the case might be. But we just couldn't see that deep ball run game being executed. And Arian goes back to that point, which Nick Foles brought up. Not enough time. Is the play caller? Is it because of Matt Nagy? Well, I'm not going to definitely say right now that it's a problem with the coach, but who knows if something does persist. But also give credit to the Rams. We did say at last week that they had an inflated record. And I'm a little sure that somewhat still might be the case. Give the credit where credit's due. Jared Goff coming out and allowing the Rams to go 5-2 now. All right, guys. Second game which we predicted and going over today is going to be the one between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Now, guys, I think we can all say that this was one of potentially one or two. We got some pretty good games which happened this week, but one of the best games which happened this week. Going into it, did it go to overtime? No, it didn't go to overtime. Hold up. Yeah, that was the Cardinals game. Hold up. All right, guys. The second game which we're going to be talking about is going to be the one between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Now, guys, this was truly a game which went down till the wire, with the Steelers winning and coming out 27-24. Guys, our thoughts on the stellar game?
I think from this game, you figured out that without the Titans' running game going, crazy, they're not a really good offensive team. Derrick Henry, obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the best run defense in the league, and we saw this in continuous weeks. Right, they shut down the Browns' running game, and they shut down, or not shut down, but they limited Derrick Henry. You know, I also want to talk about the Steelers' offense. I mean, Big Ben did not have a good game, and they still won. I think this is a situation where, Big Ben doesn't necessarily need to play amazing for them to win, but I think in the future he's gonna have to play better.
Yeah, going against the Ravens next week, especially with the Steelers, that's gonna be like a really hard matchup. And if the Steelers win that, like they're gonna, I think that other than the Chiefs, they could be the best in the AFC. And going back to the game that just happened, the Titans Steelers game, that was a really good game. We were very close throughout the whole game. The Steelers started off strong, and then the Titans came back, but then Stephen Gostkowski missing that game-winning field goal. Yeah, that was just very like unclutch of him. But overall, it was a great game by both teams. And adding on to what Arian said about the Titans offense, without Derrick Henry, I mean, they weren't bad, but they definitely need him to go off. And with that Steelers defense, that was very hard to do. And yeah, both teams did great. It was a great matchup, and I think that they're both Super Bowl contenders.
I think you need to put some more respect on the receiving offense of the Tennessee Titans. I think we respect the Steelers as one of the top 5 defenses in this league, and to put up 24 points and to come within 3 of that team is something very impressive. Obviously the run game was neutralized. You cannot say Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, and Corey Davis were not impressive yesterday or on Sunday.
Exactly, Harsh. Got to give credit where the credit is due. A.J. Brown having a stellar game, catching over 150 yards, somewhere around 25 yards per catch, also getting a touchdown in there. But looking at the Steelers defense, one of the main reasons why I did predict the Titans to win was originally because I thought Derrick Henry could get that run game going even more. But that Steelers defense combined with an okay game from Big Ben and a good running game being developed with James O'Connor, the running back of the Steelers, it just allowed the Steelers to win. And that last play, man, it felt bad to see Stephen Gostkowski, a man who's known for his clutch field goals, to miss that. Is it because of age? Maybe. But nevertheless, it was still the great game.
I don't think it was long enough for him to make it.
All right, guys. So the third game, which we predicted, was the one between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, guys, this game just proved to us time and time again, Tom Brady, just like LeBron James from the NBA, age is just a number. Man, we saw that in play again. Tom Brady throwing for 4 touchdowns, nearly 370 yards. Man, he is not looking to stop soon, allowing the Buccaneers to move to a 5-2 record. Guys, our thoughts on the performance and the game.
I think this performance was all time by Tom Brady. Obviously everyone there were a lot of doubters when he came into the season, right? Whether he was old enough, whether he was too old to play the game, etc. But I think he shut up all the haters now for sure. And I also think this performance puts him in the MVP race, especially with the poor game Russell Wilson had. At least it puts him a leg up. So yeah, I think Tom Brady has now. I think you take Josh Allen now, and Tom Brady has officially entered the MVP race because of this game.
I think you could definitely say that Josh Allen. I'm not going to speak too much about him, but he has been very inconsistent in the past 3 games. But going over Tom Brady, I mean, yeah, like all that cliff theory and that he would not do good. Max Kellerman saying like, "Oh, this man's not going to do good this season." I think he's proved every single hater and doubter wrong. The Buccaneers' offense is in their groove. They found their groove right now. They have a great offense, a great defense. They're just an overall really good team, and I definitely think that they're Super Bowl contenders this year.
I'm finally glad Tom Brady's getting the respect he deserves. You guys doubted him last week against Green Bay, and he won. And then he comes out and wins again against Oakland. I think you guys have finally understood that Tom Brady 12 is real, and he's going to win in Tampa Bay.
I want to go back to that LeBron James analogy. It's sort of like that thing we've seen in the past, right, with the NBA. LeBron's always in the MVP conversation. Like, if he's not number 1, we always have him in our heart at the top 3. And I think not the top 3 in the NFL, but for sure, Tom Brady's a name who's always going to be in the MVP conversation, whether it be the top 3 or the top 5. And this week, it just boosted his status. For sure, I could see a little clash between him and Russell Wilson. We'll be talking about a little bit about what happened in that game. But also, I want to give credit to Rob Gronkowski. Man, I love it. Seeing him catch another touchdown this game, 2 consecutive games. Nice to see him as a tight end getting back involved in this offense. It could definitely play a bigger and larger role throughout the season. But also the Raiders. It's something we've talked about time and time again. What are they trying to signal? Some games they win at the beginning of the season, which make us like, whoa, are they a real contender? And some games like this where they just get completely shut out, losing by 25 points this game. And mainly talking about Joshua Jacobs. The run game was just not there. Derek Carr nearly threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. The run game, I feel like, just didn't allow for the Raiders to win. And now the Bucs are 5-2. All right, guys. So our fourth game, which we predicted, was between the San Francisco 49ers and the New England Patriots. And guys, was it a blowout game? With the 49ers winning 33-6, making the New England Patriots go 2-4. Now, guys, we did not see quite the game which we were expecting from Cam Newton, to say the least. 3 interceptions being thrown, and the 49ers, Jimmy G, proving that he is a consistent quarterback to some extent this week, and the 49ers just absolutely destroying the Patriots. Guys, our thoughts on this embarrassing loss?
So to start off with the 49ers. You know, every single year, and especially this year, like I'm scared as a Seahawks fan in the NFC West. This division is so competitive, and the 49ers, like with all their injuries, they're still a great team. I don't see like them doing horrible this year. They've been on a winning streak recently, destroying the Rams, destroying the Patriots. They're a great team. Jimmy G is getting a bit more of my respect now. But now moving on to the Patriots. Man, I don't know why I picked this team. This was like an embarrassing move by me, Harsh, and Rayan out here. Yeah, Cam Newton getting benched, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, not even 100 yards. I don't really know like what's happening. I think maybe COVID had an effect on him. It could be. And then their backup, Jared Stidham, obviously you can't expect a lot from him. So yeah, it was just a very bad game by the Patriots offense, and yeah, it was just a bad game by them.
Yeah, I'll be covered the shortcomings of the New England Patriots very well. I think the most interesting news to come out of Foxborough right now is that the Patriots are supposedly shopping Stephon Gilmore right now, and the lead contender to trade for him is the Tennessee Titans. I think with this addition, the Tennessee Titans could become an amazing team, putting them that step above into highly favored Super Bowl contenders. But I think maybe the Patriots are looking into a rebuild here with new defensive players, and they see that maybe Cam Newton wasn't the answer in Foxborough.
Yeah, I want to go back to, obviously Cam Newton didn't play a well good game, right? But I want to go back to Tom Brady. We remember last year, the biggest concern Tom Brady had last year was, his receivers were just awful, and he still somehow won 12 games. And we see this problem continuing in New England, right? The receivers are just not playing up to par. Cam Newton has to fit it in super tight windows, and we know he's not the best thrower of the football. This defense does not it looks like a shell of itself. The 49ers backup to the backup running back gashed him this whole entire game. And I think the 49ers put on a clinic. And the only reason it wasn't like a 50-point game was because Jimmy G turned the ball over like twice. So, credit to the 49ers. I think they're definitely in contention for the NFC West title. And I think the Patriots looking to tank here.
Well, I'm not sure about the tanking, but, at the beginning of the season, the Patriots look quite promising. In these past couple of weeks, that whole mindset has just completely flip-flopped, to say the least. But looking back at the 49ers, I'm not sure if I'm ready to hop on the wagon for the 49ers right now. Sure, Jimmy B, he sort of kept on building the foundation. He's proven to be somewhat consistent. Sure, he still had those 2 interceptions, throwing for nearly 300 yards as well. But looking at the receiver core, Deebo Samuel getting involved, George Kittle as well. And I feel like that this game was maybe just a fluke for the Patriots. I feel like that we're not going to see Cam Newton have such a terrible performance once again. Maybe it was just one of his bad games, and I don't think that they're going to suffer such a large blowout again. But credit to the 49ers. They are for sure putting themselves in contention for that number 1 seed in Ubby's division. All right, guys, and the last game which we are going to be talking about is arguably the best game of this week. That being the game which went into overtime between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. Now, guys, this was a game which not only went to overtime, but we saw quite the quarterback duel and amazing performances from, obviously, nonetheless, Russell Wilson, but also Kyler Murray having a stellar game. Now, guys, this game did prove to go in the opposite direction, which Avi and I expected, and some things which did not go quite right for the Seahawks throughout the game. And although the score may show it being a close game, I think Ari and Harsh got some comments to make. You guys get started.
I can't say I didn't see this coming because the Seahawks were on a roll. Cardinals were also on a roll, right? But I want to talk about Russell Wilson. to throw 3 picks in a game and still be in contention at the end of the game that's unbelievable, right? Obviously, Russell Wilson is a great quarterback, but he's also the reason why they lost. You can't have 3 picks and expect to win the game. I know I'm sure Harsh's going to talk about this, the defense and DK, but I'll go with defense. The Seahawks defense is garbage, absolute garbage. Maybe worse than the Dallas defense. They're allowing almost 500 yards. They're allowing 500 yards per game. Can you imagine 500 yards per game? Chase Edmonds and their backup running back went off. It was an all-out performance from the Cardinals. Kyler Murray had played one of the best games of his career, and I'm definitely sure that we're going to see this in the future.
I know we talk about the shortcomings of the Bears offense, but I am one to truly believe, and I think Arian can agree with me here, if the Bears were to play a defense like that you could realistically see them scoring 30 points in a game. And that just shows how abysmal this Seattle Seahawks defense is, But let's moving past it. Arian covered the defense. I think to begin with, in OT, if you get the ball first, you have no reason to lose the game. I think Russell Wilson, they had poor play calling and they just failed to execute when it mattered in OT. And when you get the ball first in overtime, if you don't win, you at least have to get the score. And they did. But then they didn't score again. They had a second opportunity, and Russell Wilson throws the interception. Obviously, David Moore, because the holding called back a DK touchdown. And eventually, Cardinals won it with 15 seconds. Both teams had many chances to win this game, and I guess the team that took advantage of it at the end won. But let's talk about Rayan and Nabi's most favorite, DK Metcalf. They love to say how he's a top 5 receiver in the league right now. I don't see any top 5 receiver in the league going 2 catches for 23 yards at a 40% catch rate. This man was shut down. The Cardinals defense locked him up. Yes, Tyler Lockett ate against Patrick Peterson, but we did not see DK Metcalf once this game. Maybe you can count the holding call, but even then that would be a 6-yard gig at most. I'm very disappointed to see this from a supposedly top 5 wide receiver.
I'm going to address all that. But first, I just want to say Russell Wilson and this whole team, they're going to have off games. And this was just not a great game for Russell Wilson. He started off amazing for the first half. I really thought that the Seahawks were actually going to blow out the Cardinals. And then out of nowhere, they came back. He was throwing horrible interceptions. You can't even blame receivers for that. Those were looking like Trubisky throws out there, the interceptions he threw. And he had so many chances. That's the thing that hurts the most. So he had so many chances. Gonzalez missed a game-winning field goal, went into overtime. Seahawks got the ball first. They didn't even convert. Then the Cardinals got the ball. Then they didn't convert. And then Seahawks got the ball again, and then it's thrown an interception, which makes them lose the game. At that point, it's just unacceptable. I can't hate Russell Wilson. He's a core on that offense. He's gonna have bad games. This is a really bad game. And then now moving on to DK. Yeah, this is a whole offense. Other than Tyler Lockett, nothing was really working out, to be honest. DK was getting shut down. He wasn't getting open. The highlight of his play wasn't even on offense. It was his defense to prevent that pick six that on, what's his name, Buda Baker. And yeah, this is just not a great game for the Seattle offense and obviously defense. But I'm thinking they're going to bounce back next week against the 49ers.
Before Rayan gets into it, I would like to compliment the Seattle Seahawks in one category. I think their O-line play was definitely much better than we've seen in previous weeks. They definitely stepped up, and it does look like they're improving. So I definitely do think that's a positive, even in the loss here.
So how about Tyler Lockett, guys? No, I'm not going to try to take it away. The plain facts are right there. Russell Wilson, he's arguably been the number 1 contender for MVP throughout these first 6 weeks. However, this week it does for sure present another outcome. And that other person, like we were discussing before, could very well be Tom Brady. But right now, looking back at the Seahawks game, man, from the start, I'll be like you said, honestly, at the end of that first quarter, the Seahawks being up was nearly 10-7, and then the second half, going to the second quarter as well, scoring 17 points. It looked like this was going to be a blowout game, but then that second half just completely ruined it. Man, that Buda Baker interception brought back some memories. Cue the Super Bowl pick right here. But no hard feelings of like you said, bad games are going to happen. DK Metcalf's not always going to be the receiver. It's not going to be an every game thing. He's shown that he can do it night out, night out. Last game, I think it was just an outlier, to say the least. 2 catches. I don't feel like that's going to happen again. And in this case, I think I want to bring attention to the Cardinals defense. I feel like more attention was being drawn towards DK at the beginning of the game, which just allowed and gave the opportunity to Tyler Lockett to get these huge numbers, 200 yards and the 3 touchdowns. Absolutely phenomenal. But got to give credit where credit is due. Kyler Murray having a phenomenal game, throwing for nearly 400 yards, man. He is going to be such a bright face in this league. And the Cardinals just getting the job done in their division. All right, guys. What was a great 7th week of the 2020 NFL season. We got a lot of more matches coming up. And, guys, expect a power rankings video coming out soon, too, with us going over each week who we believe are the top leaders in the NFL currently. As always, guys, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe. So close to 500. Let's get there by the end of this month. And, guys, comment down below your main takeaways from all of these games. We had quite the games. We'd love to hear what you guys got to say. As always, guys, take care. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys.
Thank you.